Welcome, freaks. The signal is live. Let's cause some chaos. The fun's just be time to burn it all down!
Oh, look at that. Look at you. Standing there, breathing easier, sleeping deeper, smiling without asking for permission first. You detached. You actually did it. You walked away from the circus, left the stage, stopped performing for an audience that never deserved a single encore. And now they're scrambling, panicking, reaching, clawing, attaching harder than they ever did when you were right there, bleeding yourself dry just to keep them interested. Isn't that something? The moment you stopped chasing, they started sprinting. The second you stopped explaining yourself, they demanded essays. The instant you found peace without them, they lost theirs completely. Welcome back to reality. Or should I say, welcome to the aftermath. Because what you're witnessing right now isn't love. It isn't regret. It isn't even respect. It's desperation. And desperation, my friend, looks absolutely hideous on them. Let's be ruthlessly honest here. For months, maybe years, you gave them everything. Your time, your energy, your attention, your forgiveness, your chances. You showed up when they disappeared. You texted back when they went silent. You made excuses for their behavior while they made you the villain in stories you weren't even part of. You bent, twisted, shrunk yourself into shapes that didn't fit, all because some twisted part of you believed that if you just loved them harder, tried more, stayed longer, they'd finally see your worth. But they didn't, did they? They saw you as available, as predictable, as someone they could access whenever they felt like it, without any real investment, without any genuine effort. They took your presence for granted because they never thought you'd actually leave. They thought you'd always be there, waiting in the wings, ready to jump back into their chaos the moment they snapped their fingers. But then, you did something they never saw coming. You detached, not with a dramatic exit, not with a farewell speech, not with threats or ultimatums. You just left. Quietly. Completely. You stopped responding to the breadcrumbs. You stopped showing up to the games. You stopped watering dead plants and expecting them to bloom. You withdrew your energy, your presence, your attention, and you redirected it all toward yourself, toward your healing, toward your peace. And that silence, that absence, that detachment, it did something to them that no amount of your words ever could. It woke them up. Not to your value, not yet, but to the fact that they no longer had control. And people who thrive on control absolutely lose their minds when they realize the game is over and they didn't even get a say in it. So now, here they come, suddenly interested, suddenly checking in, suddenly remembering you exist after weeks, months of radio silence. They're liking old posts, watching your stories within seconds of you posting, finding excuses to be in your orbit again. They're asking mutual friends about you, dropping your name in conversations, acting like they're concerned, like they miss you, like they've had some grand revelation about how special you are. But here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They don't miss you. They miss the supply. They miss the attention you gave them. They miss having someone they could rely on to always be there, to always forgive, to always come back no matter how many times they disrespected your boundaries, dismissed your feelings, or made you feel small. What they're experiencing right now isn't love. It's withdrawal. And withdrawal makes people do desperate, ugly things. You ever notice how they didn't care about your silence until it became permanent? How they didn't miss your presence until it was completely gone? That's not coincidence. That's strategy failure. See, they operated under the assumption that you'd always crack first, that you'd always be the one to reach out, to apologize, to try again. They gambled on your goodness, on your loyalty, on your hope that things could change. And for a long time, they were right. You did come back. You did try again. You did forgive things that should have been deal breakers. But this time you didn't. This time you meant it when you walked away. And that shift, that finality, it triggered something primal in them. Panic. Panic doesn't look like love, though they'll try to dress it up that way. Panic looks like sudden affection after months of coldness. Panic looks like love bombing after weeks of neglect. Panic looks like promises they've broken 100 times before, delivered with a sincerity that almost feels real. They'll text you at 2 a.m. with, "I've been thinking about you," as if that erases the 2 a.m.s you spent crying over them while they were perfectly fine without you. They'll post cryptic quotes about losing someone who mattered, about regretting taking people for granted, about realizing too late what they had. And you'll see it. And a part of you, that part that still remembers loving them, might feel something. But don't confuse that feeling with an invitation to return. Because here's what's really happening. They're not missing the real you. They're missing the version of you that made them feel powerful. The version that chased, that waited, that hoped, that stayed despite every red flag. They're missing the dynamic where they held all the cards, where your happiness depended on their mood, where they could come and go as they pleased without consequence. Your detachment didn't just remove you from their life. It removed their sense of control. It removed their safety net. It removed the guarantee that no matter how badly they treated you, you'd still be there. And that terrifies them, not because they love you, but because they lost their favorite game piece. Watch how they operate now. Watch how they try to slip back in through side doors, through casual mentions, through "I was just thinking about you," messages that seem innocent but are carefully calculated. They're testing the waters, seeing if you've softened, seeing if enough time has passed for you to forget why you left in the first place. They're hoping you've missed them enough to overlook the patterns, to ignore the history, to give them another chance they haven't earned and won't appreciate. But you already know this dance, don't you? You've been here before. You've seen this episode. You know how it ends. The difference is, this time, you're not auditioning for a role in their chaos. This time, you're the one watching from a distance, unattached, unmoved, unbothered. And that unbothered energy? That's what's driving them insane. Because they can handle your anger. They can handle your sadness. They can even handle your disappointment. What they cannot handle is your indifference, your peace, your complete lack of reaction to their existence. That's the ultimate rejection. That's the ultimate power shift. You're not fighting for them anymore. You're not fighting with them anymore. You're not fighting at all. You've simply moved on. And that reality, that undeniable, irreversible reality, is eating them alive from the inside out. Now comes the performance, the grand show, the carefully scripted act where they pretend they've changed, grown, evolved into someone worthy of your time. They'll tell you they've been going to therapy, reading self-help books, working on themselves. They'll admit to their mistakes with a level of self-awareness that seems impressive until you realize it's just another manipulation tactic. They've learned that simply denying their behavior doesn't work anymore. So now they acknowledge it. They own it. They apologize for it. But they do it all in a way that's designed to pull you back in, not to genuinely make amends. Listen carefully to the language they use. "I know I messed up. I realize now what I lost. I was immature back then." Notice how it's always past tense? Notice how they frame their toxic behavior as something they've already moved beyond, as if personal growth happens overnight, as if patterns built over years can be dismantled in weeks. They're selling you a story of transformation, but they're skipping the actual work. Real change is slow, uncomfortable, and doesn't require an audience. Real change happens in private, through consistent action over time, not through dramatic confessions designed to get an emotional response. And here's where it gets manipulative. They'll use your own empathy against you. They know you're the type of person who believes in second chances, who wants to see the good in people, who hopes that love can inspire someone to become better. They know you have a soft heart beneath that armor you've built. So they'll appeal to that softness. They'll cry. They'll be vulnerable. They'll share just enough pain to make you feel sorry for them, to make you feel like maybe they really are suffering, maybe they really do regret losing you, maybe you should give them one more chance. But ask yourself this: where was this vulnerability when you needed it? Where was this emotional honesty when you were begging for basic communication? Where was this effort when you were still there, still trying, still hoping? The truth is, they didn't change. They adapted. They learned what didn't work last time, and they're trying a new approach. It's still manipulation, just with a more sophisticated script. They're not becoming a better person. They're becoming a better actor. And the moment you let them back in, the moment they feel secure in your presence again, the mask will slip, the patterns will resurface, the disrespect will return. Because people don't fundamentally change their character just because they lost access to someone. They change when they genuinely want to be better, when they're willing to do the uncomfortable work with no guarantee of reward, when their transformation is about them, not about winning you back. You know what real change looks like? Real change respects your decision to leave. Real change doesn't pressure you to return. Real change says, I understand why you walked away, and I respect your boundary even though it hurts. Real change focuses on becoming better for themselves and future relationships, not on convincing you to give them another shot at breaking your heart. If they were truly different, they wouldn't be desperately trying to prove it to you. They'd be quietly living it. They'd be demonstrating growth through their actions with other people, through their choices, through their life, without needing you to witness or validate it. The fact that they're performing this change specifically for your eyes tells you everything you need to know about how genuine it actually is. Here's what they didn't understand until now. Your presence was the light in their life, and your absence is the darkness they can't escape. While you were there, they took you for granted because light is easy to ignore when you're standing in it. But now that you're gone, now that they're sitting in the shadow of your absence, they're finally realizing what they lost. Not your love, not your loyalty, not your kindness, though those were all valuable. What they lost was the way you made them feel about themselves. You made them feel wanted, needed, important. You gave them purpose, validation, attention. You were the mirror that reflected back a version of themselves they actually liked. And now that mirror is gone. Now they're left with just themselves, and they don't like what they see. They're forced to confront their own emptiness, their own patterns, their own inability to maintain genuine connection. They're realizing that the chaos they created, the games they played, the distance they maintained, it didn't protect them. It isolated them. And isolation feels very different when it's no longer a choice but a consequence. They're experiencing the exact loneliness they put you through, except you survived yours and came out stronger. They're not sure they can do the same. Your absence is teaching them lessons your presence never could. When you were there, explaining yourself, defending yourself, trying to make them understand, your words fell on deaf ears because they didn't have to truly listen. They knew you'd still be there tomorrow. But now that you're silent, now that you're gone, suddenly they're hearing everything you said. Suddenly those conversations they dismissed are replaying in their mind. Suddenly they're understanding the pain they caused. Not because they've grown more empathetic, but because they're finally experiencing a fraction of what you felt. Your absence is the teacher they needed all along, the one voice they couldn't ignore, the one lesson they couldn't skip. And it's driving them crazy, isn't it? You can see it in the way they act. The sudden interest in your life, the obsessive checking of your social media, the questions they ask mutual friends, the random places they show up, hoping to run into you. They're desperate for any sign that you're struggling without them, that you miss them, that you're waiting for them to come back. But what they're finding instead is even more terrifying. You're thriving, you're glowing, you're at peace. You're living your life fully without them in it. And that reality is shattering the narrative they told themselves about how important they were to you. See, they convinced themselves that if they ever wanted you back, you'd come running. They believed that your love for them was so deep, so unconditional, so desperate that you'd always be available, always be waiting. But you proved them wrong. You proved that your love had limits, that your patience had boundaries, that your presence was a privilege they lost when they chose to abuse it. And now they're scrambling, attaching harder, desperately trying to get back something they never appreciated when they had it. But here's the beautiful, poetic justice of it all. The harder they chase, the further you drift. The more they reach, the less you care. The louder they get, the quieter your response. Because you've already moved on, and no amount of their desperation can pull you backward. Desperation has a sound, and once you know it, you can hear it from miles away. It's in the forced casualness of their messages. It's in the overly enthusiastic responses to things you post. It's in the way they try to remind you of good times, of inside jokes, of memories you shared, as if nostalgia is strong enough to override reality. They're not being genuine, they're being strategic. Every reach out is calculated. Every message is crafted to trigger an emotional response. Every reminder of the past is designed to make you forget why you left in the future. But you're not falling for it anymore, are you? You've seen this movie before. You know the ending. You recognize the pattern. They're not reaching out because they suddenly value you. They're reaching out because they need something from you. Validation, attention, forgiveness, access. And the moment they get it, the moment you respond with warmth, with openness, with that familiar energy they remember, they'll relax. They'll settle back into their old patterns. They'll start taking you for granted again, because that's who they are. Desperation doesn't change people. It just reveals what they're willing to do when they're no longer in control. And you can see it in their behavior, can't you? The inconsistency, the hot and cold. One day they're pouring their heart out. The next they're distant again, testing to see if you'll chase. They're operating from a place of scarcity, convinced that if they can just get your attention, just get you to respond, just get you to engage, they can slowly pull you back into the dynamic they controlled. But they're failing to realize something crucial. You're not operating from scarcity anymore. You're operating from abundance. You've discovered that life without them isn't the nightmare they predicted. It's actually better, calmer, healthier, more authentic. Watch how desperate they become when they realize their usual tactics aren't working. Watch how the messages increase in frequency, in intensity, in emotional manipulation. They'll start with casual, then move to concerned, then shift to vulnerable, then escalate to guilt-tripping, then maybe even swing to anger when none of it penetrates your peace. I thought you cared about me. I guess you never really loved me. You've changed. You're cold now. They'll try to make you feel bad for protecting yourself, for maintaining boundaries, for refusing to re-enter a situation that drained you. They'll frame your healing as heartlessness, your growth as betrayal, your peace as punishment against them. But here's what they don't understand. You're not being cold, you're being smart. You're not being heartless, you're being self-protective. You're not punishing them. You're prioritizing yourself. And that's the difference between who you were and who you are now. The old you would have felt guilty, would have questioned yourself, would have wondered if maybe you were being too harsh, too unforgiving, too rigid. The new you knows better. The new you recognizes manipulation when you see it. The new you understands that people who genuinely care about you don't make you feel bad for having boundaries. They respect them. And anyone trying to guilt you back into their life doesn't deserve access to it in the first place. There's a certain power in not caring anymore. Not in a bitter, resentful way, but in a genuine, peaceful way. You're not thinking about them constantly anymore. You're not analyzing their behavior, decoding their messages, wondering what they really meant. You're not losing sleep over them, not crying over them, not hoping they'll change. You've reached that sacred space of true indifference, where they're just another person who used to be in your life but isn't anymore. And that indifference, that emotional detachment, it's the ultimate form of freedom. They can feel it too. They can sense that shift in your energy. When they reach out now, they're not getting the warm, eager responses they used to. They're getting short replies, delayed responses, or sometimes no response at all. And it's killing them because they can't manipulate someone who doesn't care. They can't guilt someone who's emotionally detached. They can't control someone who's already free. Your indifference is the wall they keep hitting, and no amount of their effort can break through it because you built it with lessons they taught you. And here's the irony. They wanted you to stop being so emotional, to stop overreacting, to stop making everything a big deal. Well, congratulations to them. You did exactly that. You stopped feeling intensely about them. You stopped reacting to their behavior. You stopped making their actions a big deal in your life. But now that you've actually done it, now that you've become the calm, unbothered person they claimed they wanted, they hate it. Because what they really wanted wasn't for you to care less. It was for you to care differently, to care on their terms, when it was convenient for them, without holding them accountable. But you're done playing that game. You're done shrinking yourself to make them comfortable. You're done explaining your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You're done giving energy to people who wouldn't give you peace. You've learned that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And you've mastered that indifference not through bitterness, but through healing. Through choosing yourself repeatedly until it became natural. Through protecting your peace until it became sacred. Through walking away until staying away became easier than any version of going back. This indifference you feel, this emotional freedom, it's not something they can ruin anymore. They can try to provoke you, to trigger you, to pull you back into emotional chaos, but it won't work. You're operating on a different frequency now. You're at peace in a way that their presence never allowed. And that peace is so much more valuable than any relationship with someone who consistently disrupted it. You've tasted freedom, and there's no going back to captivity. You've experienced calm, and there's no returning to their storm. You've found yourself, and there's no losing yourself in them ever again.